All right, so I'm gonna talk to you about David's fall. So, David. First, I want you to say when it says it came to pass after the years passed, and the kings go forth into battle, and David sent Joab and his servants with him before with to all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon. There, Ammon was another group of people that what they were fighting with. Um, so usually David goes to battle with them, okay? But if you notice, it says, but David just sent Joab and his servants. He didn't go with them because he has a palace now. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay home today, right? Probably got a little bored. He has a woman problem. Idle hands, right? Idle hands, devil plaything. No joke. He goes to his balcony. He's looking out on the balcony, and guess what he sees? He sees Bathsheba. He sees this beautiful woman, Bathsheba. He's bored. He didn't go to battle, so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna sleep with her. She's married, by the way. She's not. So he committed adultery, right? Not the first time either. Anyway, um, he took a wife. He took a woman of another guy later in Samuel 1-2. So this is not exactly the first time. Anyway, so he sees Bathsheba. He's like, I'm gonna have a one night stand with her, right? No big deal. He's probably done that many times because you could tell he likes women. He has a lot of women. She gets pregnant. Okay, she's like, boom. Well, our one night stand led to her being pregnant. But she's married, so David starts freaking out, right? And what he does is really evil, guys. So David, he basically has Uriah, her husband, killed in battle on purpose. Bad, right? Evil, evil, bad. Totally unlike David, but that's what happens when you sin. One little sin turns into big sin, right? It has a domino effect. He has Uriah killed, and you're gonna see what happens when he suffers the big consequences for these sins. Okay, so this is the beginning of the fall, and God sees this. He knows everything. Okay. Do you guys know what this totally reminds me of? Watch, I'll show you what this totally reminds me of. And this is probably why they put these stuff in movies, right? Hollywood would do that too. Let's celebrate the fall of David by putting these things in movies. That happens all the time. Hollywood is sneaky like that. Anyway, this is what this reminds me of, okay? Yep. And it came to pass in the evening time that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house, and from the roof he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman and said, I want to lay with her. He went to go get his men to say, I want to lay with her. He was like, yes. Right? Just like that. And that's all it took for him to fall. And you're going to see the consequences of his actions. Do not gawk at women by pools, guys, okay? It's a slippery slope. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. Okay, so anyway, after Uriah dies, he gets Bathsheba and he marries her and moves her into the palace. Okay, very bad, evil. He killed her husband. It's a bad time. And Nathan is a prophet of God. Okay, he works for David. He comes to David with a story. He tells David this parable, but he makes it sound like it's really happening. Okay, so he talks about how this poor man, he only had one sheep, And his family loved the sheep. They raised the sheep. His kids loved the sheep. This lamb. And his neighbor was a rich man who had many sheep. But the rich man stole his one sheep. That one sheep, because he didn't want to waste any of his sheep. Right? So, David was like, "What? That's ridiculous!" Like, he got all mad because he thought this was a real story about someone else, right? And David's like, "Who's this guy who stole these poor people's sheep? Who's this rich man who had a bunch of sheep and stole this one sheep from this poor family, from this poor man?" He's like, "Tell me where he is right now. I'm gonna kill him." And then Nathan says, "You are that man." He's like, "You are this man. And you are this man who is stolen this guy's wife," is what his point is, right? You think God didn't see it, he's going to punish you, and he sees it, David. At this point, David knows he's right. At this point, you guys, David gets really depressed for a long time. How do we know this? Please note that David is a musician. He wrote a lot of psalms, okay? They're in the Bible. And he talks about how depressed he was, and like he just feels guilty, and like because he had Uriah killed. It's not just adultery. He had that guy killed, and it was just terrible, right? At this point, David is becoming very depressed. Nathan revealed the parable to him. He's becoming depressed, and that's what happens when you sin, guys. It's not worth it, right? And then and Nathan said that God said a sword is never going to fall from your house now. All your kids are going to pay for what you did. Like, that's how it works. That's how these familiar curses work. When you do something bad, it stays in your family. Even today, okay? I know that sounds silly and you don't get that. You guys don't get it. But you're going to see what happens. So, anyway, David is depressed, and he really does say sorry to God. He repents, right? He truly does repent, and he asks God if God is... Basically, he's asking if God is going to forgive him, or if he's going to send him to hell, okay? Or if he's going to forgive him. God's like, "Of course I forgive you, David. I know that you are sincere in your apology. But that doesn't mean, just because God forgives you of your sin, doesn't mean you don't have to suffer the consequences. And his consequence is going to be through his family." Okay, so the first thing that happens is the son that he had with Bathsheba, the son gets sick and dies, okay? So the infant dies, and that's the first bad thing that happens. This next story is really bad, okay? So David has a daughter named Tamar and a son named Amnon, okay? And Amnon is in love with his sister, okay? Which is bad, right? It's in the old law, you're not supposed to sleep with your sister. I mean, that should be obvious, but God, in the time of Moses and all those rules, he says so very clearly, he does not want you sleeping with your family members, your close family members, okay? Anyway, so he's in love with his sister. And so Amnon and Jonadab, this evil guy, his cousin, they're actually cousin. Remember, keep in mind, these are all in the family. All this is happening inside the family, okay? He tells Amnon, he's like, "Man, I'm really in love with my sister." Amnon's like, "Let's have a plan." That's evil, right? You're going to pretend you're sick. And when she comes in to feed you, that's when you're going to lay with her. Okay. So he does. He pretends he's sick. And when she brings him food, she makes him pancakes, right? And she doesn't want to sleep with him. He's like, "Come lay with me." She's like, "No, that's like a sin, like a really bad sin." But he rapes her. Okay, he rapes her. And really bad, right? Evil. Amnon rapes Tamar. And then what happens is, this is a big story now. Tamar's raped, and then her other brother named Absalom finds out, and he's mad, right? He's like, I am gonna take revenge on Amnon. I'm gonna kill him for raping his sister. So the story now is gonna be all about a lot about Amnon. This whole story, okay? Amnon's revenge and his plot. This big conspiracy starts happening. So his kids all like, look at this family. It's already getting evil. It's already messing up big time, right? So he's vowing that he's gonna kill Amnon. He's gonna take revenge for the rape of his sister. Okay. Okay. So Absalom, he tells David, Absalom tells David that Tamar was raped. Okay. It says David gets mad, but he doesn't do anything. Like, it does, literally, it says David gets mad, but he doesn't do anything. Keep in mind, David is depressed and he's not focusing, right? So Absalom decides to take things in his own hands and kill Amnon himself. He's going to punish Amnon himself. David's not paying attention. Okay, so he tells Tamar. Tamar tells him, no, I don't want you getting in trouble over this. Tamar's like, it's not worth it, bro. It's not worth it, brother. It's not worth it. Just don't do anything about it. Don't condemn yourself because he did this to me. Because she's trying to talk him down because he's mad, right? Tamar and Absalom is he's playing it really smart and smooth and cool, right? He's like, don't worry, chill. Like, for 2 years, he pretends everything's normal. Absalom's very smart. He doesn't treat Amnon any other different way, okay? He treats him the same for years, okay? Because he's trying to get a plan going, okay? Of what he's going to do to try to kill him, right? He doesn't tell Tamar anything. He doesn't tell Amnon anything. He's just playing it cool for 2 years. He's low key, keeping it low key, right? So anyway, but he goes to David and he says, you know what? I'm gonna have a party. He says in the Bible, it says I'm gonna take out the sheep shears and invite everybody. At first you're like, what is he talking about? You have to realize when it was sheep shearing season, it meant a party, okay? Like, sheep shearing for shepherd time was like a big party. It was like Super Bowl weekend, okay, for them back in the day. That was like, woohoo, sheep shearing time. We're all gonna get together and shear these sheep and party and drink wine, drink skins of wine, right? Go get the ark, fill it up with Coors Light. No. Look, no, okay. But you know what I mean. They were just like, party time. So when he says he's going to have he's going to bust out the sheep shears, it means he's going to have a big party. When I was reading this, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, what? But so when he says he's taking out the sheep shears, he's like, I'm going to bust out the Coors Light, basically. That's what he's saying. All right, that's the kind of attitude that's going on here. So all these Jewish people, that's what they did back then. They have a party. They had a big party, sheep shearing party. And during that he tells David, hey, I want to have this big party and invite all of my brothers. Oh, how nice, right? And David, it reminds me of this GIF right here. I had it out. This one. David's like, why do you want to invite all your brothers? Usually it's just like with things with the shepherds. Why are you trying to invite the kings? You know what I mean? Like, what? And then David says no. Then Absalom says, okay, well, can I just invite Amnon to this other party then? This sheep shearing party? And like, David is suspicious. He tells him, it says here he's suspicious. He knows that something's not right. He's like, what? Why are you having a sheep shearing party like a shepherd? Because he's not really a shepherd, right? And why are you, now that I said no, that you can't bring your brothers, why are you just trying to bring Amnon? Like, and I know you're, you know what I mean? Like, it says David's suspicious. But then again, I'm going to tell you, David doesn't do anything. He says whatever, right? He's depressed. He doesn't care, whatever. Um, he's not focusing, right? Um, so during this party, Amnon goes, this sheep shearing party, right? And they kill him. Okay. Him and Amnon's buddies, kill him, okay? They kill him during this party. And Amnon flees, okay? He kills him. He doesn't go back to the palace. He runs away. He's like, gotcha, but I'm not going to get caught. He runs away, okay? I wanted to bring up David real fast. Okay. Let's see. David, you remember that David is a musician, okay? He's a musician. He, by heart, he's a good king most of the time, but he's a musician. You guys, all of the stuff, this song, he got just like a real musician, right? When he gets depressed, he writes songs. And these songs are in the Bible, Psalms, okay? These Psalms. So, and he wrote other half of the Psalms is when Saul was chasing him and he was hiding in those caves. He was in those caves for like 14 years, you guys. That was a long time. And during that time, he busted out his harp, but he was like writing songs, okay? Like a real depressed musician, right? So that's what David's doing at this time. He's not really focusing on. He's sad about his infant son, probably still, right? He's sad about sinning. He's feeling guilty. He's feels sad about all the stuff. But I want you guys to know this is how Satan works. He wants you distracted. He wants you focusing on your past problems, so you're not seeing your problems that are being developed now. And it's working, isn't it? And I think it's in Chronicle that talks about how Satan was with King David during this time. It tells you this in the Bible later. No joke. He was under the influence of some evil stuff right now, right? The devil uses any opportunity to take advantage of you, even when you're depressed. He wants you not focusing on other things and making everything else in your life worse. Okay, he loves it. He doesn't care. He has no respect for your feelings. He's going to take advantage of your feelings, okay? He's going to take advantage of you not paying attention, and this is a perfect example of that as well, okay? Anyway, so I'm going to go back into Absalom. Absalom runs away. All right, so Absalom flees, and David's not dealing with the problem. He doesn't really do anything about Absalom fleeing. He doesn't chase him. He doesn't go get him, nothing to punish him or to say, hey man, what's going on, or nothing, okay? So Joab sends this woman to him with another parable, quote unquote parable, okay? He tells him, but David thinks it's a real story, just like with the lamb, okay? And in the parable, this woman dresses in mourning attire. She's dressing in mourning attire because in the old rules, you have to be really nice to widows and orphans, right? God always said he wants you to take special care of widows and orphans. People don't have anyone else. He wants you to be nice to his people. So that got David's attention when Joab told her to wear mourning clothes, to look like a widow. Okay, and she told him a story of her, quote unquote, her family. She's saying that her two sons were fighting in a field, and one killed the other, and now everyone wants to kill her other son, and there's nowhere safe for him to go. And David, of course, doesn't see it, even though it's obvious to us. He says, well, he can come here. He can come live with me. He'll be safe. No one will hurt him. And then that's when she reveals it's a parable about him again, right? That's when it's revealed it's another parable about him. And like how he'll let her son come live with him, but he won't let his own son come back, right? He's not looking at his own son, even though he was about to let some guy he never knew come back to come live with him, right? And it kind of woke him up. All right. You guys, why do you think that these people are having to come to him with parables and not just tell him straight out this is about you? Well, it's because when you are living when you've lived with sin, or if you've lived something bad for a long time, you don't even see it anymore, right? You don't even see yourself in it anymore. It's easier to see other people, your own sin in other people. You can see other people sinning, you can see other people's wrongdoings, but it's hard to see yourself in it, right? So that's why Nathan and Joab did it this way, because obviously they probably were telling him straight up, hey man, you need to wake up, like this is happening. He's not listening. So it's easier to see it on someone else, right? To project it on somebody else. That's way easier than just seeing it on yourself, right? Yep. So that's why they're using these parables. They're trying to wake them up. All right.